Welcome back, guys, to poepeagaming. I'm here. I'm bringing you some Call of Duty. Now, I haven't had a warm up and I haven't played this in about a week, so I am going to get trashed. But I want to bring you a video and I want to bring you some gameplay. So here it is. You're going to enjoy this one. For a little bit of time. And I'm going to talk to you guys, really. I want to find out a little bit more about you, what you want to see from me, the sort of things that you like, and maybe we can discuss some stories. Who knows? Who knows? First of all, while we're waiting for this to load in, if you haven't already, go over, check out my YouTube channel. I'm giving away a free copy of H1Z1 on the PC. Simple, all you've got to do is sub to my channel, comment H1Z1 on any of my videos. The minute I hit 200 subs, I will get my good lady to come and pick out a name at random, and one lucky person will win a gifted free copy of H1Z1. That'll be on Steam, so make sure you've got a Steam account as well. But yeah, as simple as that. All you've got to do is literally head on over and sub and comment. Just going to turn my headset down because all I can hear is myself talking and it's throwing me out. If you notice, I kept pausing between every sentence then. So let's do this. Let's do a little bit of Call of Duty Black Ops. As you can see, I've got mad skills. Jimmy Savloy, mad skills. That isn't what that represents, unfortunately. What that actually represents is I've got a 3-year-old daughter and her name is Madison, and since she's been born I've always had her clan name, or my clan name, as an abbreviation of her name, really, Mads. So there you go, exciting, huh? Pretty sick. I'm level 14. Let's not create a class, let's go straight in and we will do some, what should we do? Let's do some gun games, shall we? Why not? So I hope you guys are all having a good day. It's Monday morning, or Monday evening should I say. I've been at work all day. I work as an estate agent, so primarily selling properties in the UK, or real estate I think it's called out here in America. I don't know why I said it like that, over in America. So yeah, I do property sales more than anything, listing properties, selling properties, viewings as such. What do you guys do? I mean, what does your career entail? I use the word career. Now, the design behind this channel is that I really want to obviously pursue. I'll get there in a minute. A gaming career, a life in gaming. That's all I want. I've gamed pretty much since I was able to walk, able to talk. I had my first console, or handheld really, if you will. My first ever handheld that I ever owned was a Sega Game Gear. I can remember my brother buying it for me when I was literally, I think it came out in 1990, and I got it on that year or the year Christmas after that possibly, so I would have literally been 2 or 3, and that was my first ever insight to gaming, and ever since I've had that, I've actually just been absolutely obsessed with it. So gaming is my life, and that's why I'm now hopefully hoping to follow, nice easy first kill, a career in gaming. However it pans out, I do not know. Oh, come on, man, come on. Yeah, so, I mean, as I say, I've done YouTube before a few years back. Not massively successful, got a couple of 100 viewers, but it was more of a community thing. I was just doing it to talk to other gamers and have fun. Not that I'm in it for the money. I do not care at all about the money. Obviously, that is a nice benefit that would allow me to give up my work and concentrate solely on gaming.
Infantry kill.
I have, as I say, just lived my life playing games. I'm now, well, in 2 weeks I turn 27. So I've spent a long time of my life, as I say, gaming. But yeah, I mean, as I say, my first ever handheld was or console or game, or however you want to look at it, really, was the Sega Game Gear. And I can remember spending so many hours on that console, it was unreal. And my mum, believe it or not, my mother, used to play just as many hours on there. We was absolutely obsessed with that console, handheld, however you want to call it, really. But the games we used to play on that, I can remember, were Cool Spot, hours upon hours on Cool Spot. Sonic, the originals. We used to play a particular game, which some of you may remember. It got a Mega Drive release, or Sega Genesis if you're American. I'm pretty sure that was the biggest release it got, but it was Cosmic the Spacehead, which was, I guess, the first RPG platform game, really. You go around collect it. Well, I'm not going to say too much about it. I mean, it's an old game, but if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out, because it is a game that stands time. I really, really like that game. Now, where I'm actually going with this story was, obviously, Christmas has just passed, and with regards to Christmas, I actually still had my original Game Gear, the original one that was bought for me back in the 1990 or 1991, whatever year it may be, and the one that both me and my mother played many hours of. So I thought it would be a nice idea to give that to my mother as a gift. Now, anyone that knows about Sega Game Gears will know that they are notorious for the picture going, the screen going, you know, just depleting in general, really, which isn't always great. I mean, some of them do stand the test of time, dependent, I guess, on the amount of use that they get. We used to, as I say, play it for hours upon hours. But we are going back to when internet wasn't really a thing. Online gaming definitely wasn't a thing. There was no even sort, you know, of capability to play anything like that. I guess a LAN game on a PC was the closest you would get to playing a game online. But yeah, so as I say, I was planning on giving it to my mum as a present, and lo and behold, after testing it after many years, the screen was almost, well, it was invisible. You just couldn't get anything out of it, so you could barely see anything. I mean, Sonic, if you played that, for example, was a silhouette of a character, and and the soundboard had completely blown. It was just gone. There was nothing left of the soundboard at all. So I took it upon myself to do a repair, which was fun. Took me a few days, but it's not as difficult as you think, really. Picked up a soldering iron online for about a tenner. Picked up the capacitors needed to replace the motherboard. Again, only for about a fiver. And then, no. So yeah, I picked them all up online and ended up repairing the console, and it worked an absolute treat. In actually repairing the soundboard, I did damage the little soundboard motherboard, and it was beyond repairable. I pulled the solder actually off the board, and no solder would stay attached. But lo and behold, the joys of the internet allow you to pick up anything. So I managed to pick up a replacement soundboard. Again, only a couple of quid. Surprisingly, I had to import both of them from other countries. I assume there is people selling them in the UK, but I believe the capacitors come from France, and I think the soundboard was somewhere from Germany, somewhere like that. I don't know. But yeah, and you know, the bigger picture is I gave it to her for Christmas, and what I actually done was create a whole box of nostalgic gifts, if you will, from the 90s, from when I was a kid. And now the situation is, I'm a bit of a mummy's boy, and basically I've got a brother and sister. Now my brother's considerably older than me. He's in mid-40s, and my sister is in mid-30s as well. So they were basically moved out and gone by the time I was born. I was a late decision. I think it was the fact that they moved out quite early, and my parents were lonely not to have a kid around them, and I was then obviously decided to be conceded. which was lucky for them because obviously they got a superstar. And yeah, so I was born quite late on. So as I say, I was always effectively, if you will, an only child, because I was the only one ever there. I was the only one at home. So I was always mollycoddled, if you will, or wrapped in cotton wool by my mum. My dad would always work during the days, and I'd be at home with my mum when I wasn't at school. And then obviously evenings I spent with her as well. So I was always wrapped in cotton wool, if you will. But where I'm going with that actually is I spent a lot of time growing up with my mum. And she loved gaming as well, believe it or not. She anything that we ever used to get, gaming consoles, she would spend hours on as well. She would come into my room and we would play hours of Game Gear, Master System, Super Nintendo, and there were some vocal games that really stuck out in our memory, or my memory, you know, that we used to play as a kid, or when I was a kid. So I put this 90s box together, and it consisted of a big selection of games, if you will. And accessories and whatnot. There was also a Tamagotchi in there, because I remember the first year that they were actually released in the UK. I remember I was actually sick, off school, ill, as quite a lot of the time I was as a kid. But they bought me this, or they imported this. They bought me this. Sorry, they imported this Tamagotchi, and the very first real Tamagotchi, if you will. But it was, I can remember it now, it was yellow and orange, and we hadn't seen anything like this. I mean, the Virtual Pet was total Japanese kind of product back then. But yeah, as I say, this orange and yellow one, original one, and I remember, as I say, I was off school ill. I'm doing horrendous here, by the way. I was off school ill, and I was sitting up in my room late at night. I must have only been, as I say, maybe 7, maybe, something like that, 7 or 8. But she used to sit up with me in the nights when I was ill as well, and I said, can I have a look at my Tamagotchi? Still sealed, I hadn't opened it obviously, because it was a lot of commitment for a 7-year-old kid to take on a virtual pet. I remember these pets were hard work. They were demanding, but they were, you know, they are what they are. They were pretty amazing and good fun. So yeah, we're sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning. My mum, like, completely half asleep, wanting to go back to bed. Me sitting there wide awake, like, I ain't got school tomorrow, I am not going to sleep. But bless her heart, she, as I say, used to sit up with me all night long. 3 o'clock in the morning, she gives me this Tamagotchi for me to have a look at. I haven't started it yet, so you've still got the little plastic tab in there. She's like, you're not starting it, you know, tonight. You're not starting it in the middle of the night. It's too much work. You got to start it when you're, you know, when you're awake and you've got the day ahead of you, because you need to do a lot of work on it. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, sure, yeah, of course. That's what I was like. Yeah, let me have a look at it anyway. I had it in my hand maybe 30 seconds. Oh my God, the tab automatically fell out. It was accidental, I'm telling you. So 3 o'clock in the morning, I've got this Tamagotchi beeping away, doing shits and sleeping and wanting to play games and God knows what else it wanted. But as I say, it's one of those things that stuck out in my mind, specifically probably the fact that we opened it at 3 in the morning and it was just going off all bloody night long. But the fact that, as I say, it was one of those stick out things. So I managed to locate where I'm going again with this story. I like to waffle on, but is that I managed to locate an original orange and yellow one, matches the same colour, and that was also included in the 90s box as well, which was nice. And she loved it. So yeah, that's a story from my childhood. I hope you enjoyed that. It was pretty good. I'm doing shocking, as you can see at this game. But yes.
Profit KIA.
So yeah, what sticks out in your child? I mean, that's, as I say, there's some particular items that stuck out in mine, or a particular game or console, as you will, that stuck out in my childhood. But you know, everyone's got their own things that they remember. What is a vocal point in your childhood, or what would you give as a gift? I suppose, if you was trying to rekindle the past almost. But yeah, another game that I included in the bundle, which was a little bit later, was over on the PlayStation 1, was a game called Constructor. Now, some people may remember this game, some people may not, but this game, at the time, when I was young, was ridiculous. It was so hard, and I struggled with that game so much, and I remember It's kind of, if you will, like, I guess, a modern day Sim City-ish. Or shall I say Sim City is a modern day version of it. But effectively, you build a little village and do up the houses and rent them out and try and, you know, build a village and make money out of it effectively. But it was so hard, man. I just remember it being so hard. I remember particularly something that stuck out when playing that game was that no matter how much time or effort or high quality or money you spent on a property, you would get these full-size cockroaches. And when I say full-size, I mean they are the same size as a human within the game. And they would walk round with a little coat on and they would go into a house and set it on fire. But no matter what approach I ever took on this game, it always happened. It always happened. So, I mean, for example, you would start with a little bit of money and you would build a little tiny shack, if you will. And you wouldn't do it up. And then you'd build another one, and you'd end up with about 4 or 5, and you'd build a little power plant, kind of like Command and Conquer, I guess, if you will, where you build like little resource plants and stuff like that. So 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, 20 minutes in, these cockroaches will appear, go into these houses, beat the tenants up, set them on fire. Right, so obviously that's not the right approach to take, so you'll try and mix it up a little bit. So I thought, okay, instead of building 4 or 5 of these little shacks, how about we build 2 more expensive properties? So you build these nice little houses, and again, you do them all up, and you put the tenants in there. They're paying money, good, happy. You know, the tenants might say, I need this done and that done. No. 20 minutes down the line, these cockroaches would appear again. Go in the house, set them alight. Ridiculous. So then you go out, you go back, and you play the game again from the start, and you build the most expensive house just on its own, and you do it all up. You spend all the money on the interior. You get nice tenants in there. 20 minutes down the line, what happens? Guess who appears? It was just such a hard game. But as I say, I haven't played it in probably about 20 years, so that's probably you know, not true, or 15 years, however long ago it came out. But I remember going out and buying that game while I had birthday money. That year I had birthday money, and I remember going into a shop that we've got in the UK called HMV, which is still about now. It did survive the crunch of all the retail shops, ironically. And I remember having this birthday money, and back then it must have been about £30, £35, something like that. And I remember specifically thinking, I'm going to pick up 2 PlayStation games. That's what I want to spend my money on. I want to get PlayStation games, because even back then I was a gamer, of course. And the first game that I homed in on, and without a doubt bought, again, it was probably about $19.99 or $24.99 at the time, was the brand new release of Toy Story 2, which reviews well, man. It's still a good game. I remember actually having Toy Story 1 on the Super Nintendo, going back in time that way, but because I think I had so much enjoyment out of the Super Nintendo version, I thought, you know, I'll pick up this new one. It's obviously 3D, and at the time 3D was the big thing, and PlayStation was homing in on the 3D gaming, or to an extent, if you will. But yeah, so I ended up picking up this Toy Story 2 game, and I had about £10 or £15 left, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to get much on that, so I started going down to the bottom of the shelves where the value games, or games that are in the sale, if you will. And I remember distinctly, you had all these top title games, Gran Turismo and Ape Escape and all that, all within my price range. So I'm like, yeah, here you go, I can get a good game actually for £15 or £10. But no, I decided that all those top title games that are really popular and really well worth the money and still really popular today weren't good enough for my money. So I went for Constructor. And that's how it's come about. So, but yeah, as I say, that was another game that was included in the gift box for my mother for Christmas. I'm doing horrendous on this game, and I can only apologise. Come on. Oh, for God's sake. But yeah, so as I say, that's what that was the design behind my Christmas box, if you will. But going back to the Sega Game, oh, this is horrendous. The Sega Game Gear being my first ever console, or handheld, if you will. I remember sinking so many hours into that console. My dad would sit there every evening and be like, "You two need to get a life. What are you two doing?" Blah, 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 blah. Every single night we'd do the same thing. Trying to defeat the next level and getting the passcode, because obviously save capability was not a thing then.
Enforcer kill.
But yeah, as I say, we just spent so many hours on that console. It was unreal. Handheld, whatever you want to call it. And then from there, I sat around with that handheld for a couple of years. I can remember my brother taking me out every time he come down, because my brother used to live away up north, and he used to come down, and when he used to come down, he used to take me out. I'm doing so bad at this game. So yeah, he used to come down and he used to take me out. I remember one year he took me out to buy a new game for the Game Gear, because that was my life. I was a bit of a recluse. I didn't like to go out. I liked to stay in and play games, as all the cool kids obviously do. And he was like, "Yeah, go to Our Price." This was another shop we had back in the 90s. Was Our Price. And again, it was a very similar shop to, if you know HMV, it was a very similar shop to that. But it shut down many years. That was horrendous. That was absolutely 6 for 14. So yeah, but it shut down. It was a budget music game shop, if you will. And I can remember to this day going in and buying games on the Game Gear. And as I say, I must have only been about 3 or 4 at this time. And I remember him giving me the option to buy 2 games, which was Batman Returns, which I didn't really like that game, although everyone seemed to really like that game. I don't know, I just never got on with it, should I say. But a game that I did buy was James Bond, and I remember loving that game. I spent many hours. I thought it was rock hard, man. It was a side-scrolling platforming game, if you will, with Timothy Dalton on the front. That's putting it in perspective of how age that James Bond game is. It's not your GoldenEye, should I say? But I love that game. Yeah, I really, really love that game, and I had a massive collection of games on the Game Gear. But where I was getting with that is that, as I say, I held on to the Game Gear for quite a few years, and obviously being young and not having money as a kid, and not having not growing up with particularly loads of money, I didn't actually see another games console for a handful of years until the Christmas, a couple of years later. Again, my brother. Most of my gaming stuff had always come from my brother until I got a bit older, and then my parents started buying into it. But my brother picked me up a Sega Master System. It was actually a Sega Master System 2, and I remember it had Alex the Kid built into it. And it had a third-party controller. I can remember it was a turbo controller with the little yellow switches at the top. But obviously at that age I didn't know any different, and I grew up to assume that was the actual controller that you would get, and turns out obviously it wasn't. It was more of a turbo hat controller, if you will. But yeah, as I say, I remember playing Alex the Kid for hours on that one. But the funny thing was, I remember initially I didn't even know what it was when I opened it. You know, at that age, and with TV, as you know, we very rarely watch TV. I was at school and then I'd come home and play my Game Gear and go to bed. But I remember opening the Master System, not having a clue what it was, and then obviously explained it to me, and you know, I absolutely loved it, and I thought it was great. And then he was saying, "Yeah, I got it for you so you can put it in your bedroom so you can play games, you know, so you don't always have to sit in here and play the handheld," which was cool. But I didn't have a TV at that age, and then you know, as I say, with money and time, and I just didn't have a TV. So I was like, "Well, how am I gonna play this console?" But turns out that the next present was this square box. It was only a small square box like this. Didn't have a clue what it was. And then I opened it, and I remember he bought me a TV as well, which at the time, you know, I was totally and utterly blown away with. It was just, I couldn't even explain. It was just like, at that age, and as I say, with money at that time, it was like almost winning the lottery. He had quite a good job. I mean, he's always had quite a good job, and he's always had a bit of money behind him, which was obviously how he could splash out a little bit more than, you know, at that age. But I can remember this TV was a portable, black and white, putting it in perspective of how long ago this was, black and white portable TV that didn't even have sound. It was literally one that you would sit on the desk and, you know, watch football. You didn't need sound on it. And to me, it was the greatest thing ever. Do you know what I mean? We didn't have a particularly big TV back then, or for what we thought was big back then. It was probably about 19 inches, which was like a cinema screen at the time. But this must have been about 10 inches. It was absolutely tiny. But, you know, it was my first introduction to having my own console, to having my own gaming setup, if you will. Which, as I say, led on to us playing Alex the Kid 2, I think it was, for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. And that took over from the Game Gear. I mean, the Game Gear, as I say, we put so much time into, but as soon as we got this console, this Master System, we just spent, as I say, so much time on them. Even my sister got into that one, because my sister used to live locally, but obviously we didn't see her all the time with work and whatnot. But she used to, in the end, she used to come around our house all the time, and all we'd ever do would be sitting up in my room playing these games, and I mean, we played hours of them. And then I remember starting going into junior school, and more kids having the Sega Master System, and it wasn't, you know, I was like, that's where I started to learn, really, I guess, that the popularity of consoles and where it's going. And a few of my friends had Master Systems, and we started borrowing games, and I guess that was the first insight to trading and you know, and renting games, if you will. There's a particular game that I remember playing on there called Teddy Boy, which was absolutely fantastic, which was again platforming, side-scrolling shooter, if you will, all in one game. But brilliant game at the time, you know, it was amazing. But you look back now and you just think, oh my god, it's nothing compared to nowadays. But the technology back then was a different place, and before the advancement of the microchips, gaming like that was, I'll tell you actually, gaming like that, I remember when we got the Super Nintendo, which was a couple of years after, for my birthday, which again was just at that time absolutely blew me away. Now, bearing in mind, I said obviously we didn't have much money and we grew up with not a lot of money. All these consoles were bought second hand. Obviously, I didn't know at the time, and as a kid, you don't care about that stuff. And you know, growing up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, I respect obviously everything I got, and you know, it just gives you a different view on it, I guess. But you look back now and you can tell that, you know, it had a third-party controller on the on the Master System, which led to show that it was obviously second-hand. But as I say, everything, you know, not that it should matter to you as a kid anyway, but I just respected so much stuff that I got, because it was just so different to what I'd ever expect. You know, I just never expected anything like that. But as I say, we later went on. Where I was actually going with that was, we later went on to get the Super Nintendo, and that was for my birthday. And I can remember us playing in Starwing, or Star Fox, if you will call it Starwing, but I absolutely love that game. Again, another game that we spent hours upon hours on, and even my mum as well. But I remember playing Starwing, and my dad, who's never been a gamer, he's never had the patience for it, and he just doesn't, I guess, have the dexterity, or, you know, to play games. He just can't grasp them. I remember him sitting there going, the graphics are so amazing on this game, you'll never be able to get them any better. Again, I'll get killed from the last punch. But you'll never be able to get these graphics any better. You know, it is the climax of graphics, if you will. This is amazing. Like, those ships, those spaceships, just look like they've been ported from a real photo. Obviously, back then, you know, that was the view you had. And then I remember progressing onto the PlayStation 1, and I remember particularly a game called Destruction Derby. Not that it's rare, I say it like you guys won't know it. But I remember him sitting watching that and going, oh my god, like, how have we got here? That there is no way on earth these graphics are going to ever get any better. You cannot peak the graphics of Destruction Derby on the PS1. And then so forth, the PS2 come out, and you had Gran Turismo that come out, which introduced shadowing and lighting and textures and rounded edges, and the same story went on, and again it progressed up to current day consoles. But it's just the advancement of gaming. As you say, that's a little, I guess, insight to where my gaming has come from and where I started. I didn't mean to rabble on too much. I hope it was a bit more of an entertaining video. I just wanted to give you guys, as I say, something a little bit different instead of me sitting here reviewing the same games and talking about it. I just want to give you a bit more of a personal insight to me and my gaming, and I want to hear a bit about more about you guys, should I say. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave it there. You saw some shocking gameplay from me there. As I say, I haven't played this game in a couple of weeks, and I just jumped straight in it just to give you some content to watch in the background. But I'll keep more of these videos coming. If you want more Call of Duty, again, I will play more Call of Duty. If you want Minecraft, you know, I've got most games, and as I say, I'll always pick up the games I haven't got. So please, you know, just let me know what you want to watch. Let me know what you like to see. I'm going to leave this one here. I'm going to try and do daily videos again. It is a bit of a commitment. I do work 60-hour weeks, and I do have my daughter sort of 2 or 3 days a week. But you know, you don't get it if you don't want it. So you know, I've got to keep fighting for it, and I'll put videos out there for you guys. But as I say, don't forget to go over to the channel, check out my H1Z1 giveaway video. All you got to do is sub, comment in the box, and one winner will be picked at random when we hit 200 subs. I will gift that totally free over Steam. If you haven't already, go check out my Instagram. I'm really active over there. That's a platform that allows me to update, if you will, every day while I'm at work, and I can play on that as well, so I can keep in touch with you guys, and you know, if you can give me requests on videos and whatnot. I've also got Facebook and a Twitter, so again, you can hit me up on that, but I'm not asking you to subscribe to every platform. But as I say, I'll leave this one here. It's been a real pleasure, guys, and I can't wait to do the next video. As I say, any requests, just drop in the box underneath, and I'll get onto those for you for the next one. But in the meantime, take care, guys, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. PoePeagaming, over.